Hello viewers. Welcome to the legendary muscles. The 1984 Mr. Olympia captured bodybuilding at a crossroads. It was a clash of its past and its future. The past was best represented by the legendary Sergio Oliva, one of 3 previous Mr. Olympias in the lineup. But the past was also the venue. Bodybuilding's ultimate contest was back, after 10 years away, in New York City, where the first 6 Mr. Olympias were staged, and back in the Felt Forum of Madison Square Garden, its home in 1974. The future was clear from the moment he appeared at center stage. It was 24-year-old Lee Haney, who won his first of a record-breaking 8 Olympia titles on November 3, 1984. Let's journey now to the year of Purple Rain, Valley Girls, and The Terminator, and relive the 1984 Mr. Olympia, one of the greatest bodybuilding contests of all time. 1984 Mr. Olympia lineup. There were 20 competitors in the 1984 Mr. Olympia. We break down the 10 that mattered most on that November day in the order they appeared on stage. Sergio Oliva. The audience of 5,000 wouldn't have to wait to see the myth in person. When competitors drew numbers at the Doral Inn, Sergio Oliva drew number 1. It was the first time Oliva, winner of 3 straight Mr. Olympias, 1966-69, had appeared at an Olympia since the 1972 contest, when he controversially lost to Arnold Schwarzenegger even though the myth was at his lifetime best then. 12 years. For 12 long years, while he quarreled with the IFBB, Oliva dominated lesser contests in lesser federations and worked as a Chicago policeman. His legend grew even as his prime slipped away. In his absence, Olympia standards had changed. The fuller, smoother look of the late 60s and early 70s was out, the drier, leaner look was in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest ever Mr. Olympia. Our first contestant is the one and only Sergio Oliva, promoter and MC Wayne D'Amelia bellowed at prejudging. The myth at 43, not as mythical as before, sauntered to the Felt Forum's center stage. As he struck poses, the crowd roared its approval as if it was 72 all over again, but by modern standards Oliva was smoothish and his middle-aged wheels were somewhat deflated. Still, when competitor number 1 hit his trademark, arms overhead victory pose, it wowed all lucky enough to witness it. And that's what the New York audience had come to experience. They'd come to see the myth of those black and white magazine photos, in person, in 3D and Technicolor, and they roared ever louder. Samir Banout. The 5'7" Samir Banout was 4 days shy of 29. Largely on the basis of his crisp conditioning and stupendous back, the Lebanese Lion had won the Mr. Olympia, his first pro victory, the year before, defeating rookie Lee Haney. That was then. This time his recurring problems with water retention again blurred him. Banout wasn't sharp enough to defend his title, and Haney neutralized his strength and eclipsed him in the back poses. Tom Platz. Tom Platz caused a sensation at the 1981 Mr. Olympia when his already stupendous legs exploded to mind-blowingly colossal and zippered dimensions and his upper body was transformed, as well. After a controversial third that year, he was the early favorite in 1982, but a severe biceps tear and delayed surgery effectively ended his career. 6th at the 1982 Mr. Olympia and off stages in 1983, Platz was making something of a comeback in '84. But, as much as he tried to hide it in poses, you couldn't overlook his depleted right arm, and his conditioning was hazy. He competed 3 more times the next 3 years, but by the 1984 Mr. Olympia, Tom Platz, once heralded as the Mr. O heir apparent and still only 29, was washed. Albert Beckles. Like Albert Beckles himself, the MC claimed the ageless Barbadian Brit was 54 years old. In fact, he was 46, which still made him the oldest competitor. And he was still one of the best, finishing 4th. Beckles won 2 pro shows in 1984. And the next year he won another, and, at 47, placed 2nd in the Mr. Olympia. Beckles did it all on the strength of his superb conditioning. In the rear double biceps, his back was a relief map of peaks and valleys, and his pointy biceps sported 2 of bodybuilding's all-time highest peaks. Bob Paris. After dominating amateur bodybuilding the year before, winning both the NPC Nationals and the heavyweight world title, Bob Paris was making his much-anticipated pro debut. And, like Lee Haney, he was only 24. Was he the future? Coming into the Olympia, it seemed very possible that the aesthetically flawless Paris would be contending for bodybuilding's ultimate prize for years to come. The 5 feet 11 inches and 235-pound Paris had an ideal structure and all the right muscle in all the right places, but he lacked the high-def look of competitors like Beckles. He competed in 4 more Mr. Olympias in his 8-year career, but his 7th this year was Paris' highest Olympia placing. Chris Dickerson. After winning the 1982 Mr. Olympia, Chris Dickerson stayed off stages for 2 years before making this ill-advised comeback at 45. Frequently outsized, Dickerson was significantly smaller than before and suffered a humbling placing out of the top 10, far and away the lowest of his storied career. Giuseppe Wilkosch. On the other hand, German, 36-year-old Giuseppe Wilkosch never looked better. His 6 foot and 230-pound physique was Herculean, with especially thick pecs, delts, and abs, and his grainy conditioning was on point. Wilkosch displayed it all with appropriately classical poses, and was justly rewarded with a bronze medal finish, his highest Olympia placing. Wilkosch competed only once more. Roy Callender. Roy Callender or Tom Platz should have won the 1981 Mr. Olympia. But Callender was too low, 4th, then, and too high, 5th, this time. 1984 was something of a comeback, but Father Time finally caught the 44-year-old Canadian from Barbados, as he had lost much of the thickness that won him pro shows a few years prior. Callender retired afterwards, only to come back again, briefly and unsuccessfully, in 1987. Lee Haney. Lee Haney had been a rookie sensation the year before at only 23, winning his pro debut and finishing 3rd in his first Mr. Olympia. But competing 7 times, he was always dieting in 1983, and, at 5 feet 11 inches and 228 pounds, he felt deflated at the 1983 Mr. Olympia, finishing behind 205-pound Samir Banout and 160-pound Muhammad Makawai. So, he stayed off stages in 1984 until the Olympia, training with skyrocketing, 21-year-old Rich Gaspari, who won his class at the Nationals and World Championships that year, growing, maturing, transforming. In one of the most dramatic one-year transformations in bodybuilding history, 24-year-old Lee Haney showed up at the Mr. Olympia with a new physique, 243 lean pounds on an X-frame and an unbeatable combination of size and aesthetics. Mass with class. Haney easily won his first of a record-setting 8 Mr. Olympias. Muhammad Makawai. It's remarkable that Muhammad Makawai was runner-up in 2 consecutive Mr. Olympias when you consider he was only 5'2" and 160 pounds. But that's why he was nicknamed the Magic Egyptian. Through his masterful posing, Makawai displayed his symmetrical physique so as to cast a spell, making spectators forget his small stature. He was 2nd in the 1983 Mr. Olympia, just ahead of rookie Lee Haney, and 2nd again this year, just behind Haney. Though only 31, Makawai then retired, at very near the top of bodybuilding, though he did make a comeback in the late 90s. Mr. Olympia 1984 results. 1. Lee Haney, $50,000. 2. Muhammad Makawai, $25,000. 3. Giuseppe Wilkosch, $10,000. 4. Albert Beckles, $6,000. 5. Roy Callender, $4,000. 6. Samir Banout, $2,500. 7. Bob Paris, $2,000. 8. Sergio Oliva, $2,000. 9. Tom Platz, $1,000. 10. Bob Birdsong, $1,000. 11. Chris Dickerson. 12. Tony Pearson. 13. Boyer Coe. 14. Chuck Williams. 15. Bill Grant. 16. Charles Glass. 17. Robbie Robinson. 18. Hubert Metz. 19. James Gabbert. 20. Appy Steenbeek. Victory of Lee Haney. Lee Haney's victory at the 1984 Mr. Olympia marked a watershed moment in bodybuilding history. His win not only catapulted him into the upper echelons of the sport but also signaled a paradigm shift in bodybuilding aesthetics and techniques. Haney's remarkable physique, characterized by a perfect blend of size, symmetry, and muscularity, set a new standard for excellence in the industry. His triumph inspired a generation of bodybuilders to strive for a balanced and proportional physique rather than just sheer bulk. Additionally, Haney's reign as Mr. Olympia for the next 8 consecutive years solidified his status as one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, elevating the sport to new heights of popularity and respect. His influence on the bodybuilding scene continues to resonate to this day, serving as a testament to his enduring legacy and impact on the sport. If you find this video helpful, give it a like. Kindly share the video and subscribe to this channel for more interesting content in the future. Stay hydrated and stay motivated. We will be back to you soon. Be legendary.